Let's bring in the great Kevin Harlan on the D&M Leasing Hotline here on 105.3 The Fan. Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for joining the show. You can't be in Los Angeles.
I am. I'm heading to the airport and going home for about a day and a half,
Nice.
and then we'll either do the first game of Minnesota-Denver or we'll do Game 7 of the Pacers and Milwaukee. So we're going to wait and see what happens tonight.
Kevin, do you think Paul George is a Hall of Famer?
Oh, boy, I don't know. 9-time All-Star. Boy, that's interesting. I don't know. I don't know that I would say that. I know he's had success in his previous stops in Oklahoma City, and he began, of course, at the Pacers, and always considered among, one of the top. I'd have to see how many All-NBA teams he's made. Maybe 4, 5 of the 3 different teams.
6. Ooh.
So, I think he'll be under consideration. His international play for the country will be taken into consideration. And if you look at some of the people that have been put in playing-wise, they're pretty liberal. And I would think, I hate to say it. I think not hate to say it, but I think he would be definitely considered. Sure, he's pretty decorated. He just hasn't won a title.
How stunned were you by a 30-point blowout last night?
Well, very much. Jason came in last night, and we've got a pretty good relationship with him. Our crew does, and he's very honest. And usually he comes in there bouncing pretty good and feeling good about his game tonight and everything. And I think he felt like, gosh, in a swing game like this with Luka not 100%, and thinking that they got some momentum. I mean, the Clippers, and they've got the home court. It would be a tough game, and it was anything but. That atmosphere in that building for the Clippers is not great. Lakers, it's terrific. Clippers, it's just kind of And I would say that was certainly in favor of the Mavs. Doncic didn't look injured to me at all. I mean, I got to be honest. After watching him labor the other night or afternoon, I was stunned at how easily he was moving and the confidence with his shooting, not necessarily his threes early on. I think he was 0 of 5 to start from 3, but he really picked up. And, of course, the great security blanket there is Irving, because you never know when he's going to detonate and he's going to take off and do what he did the other day. I think coming back from 31 down to eventually take the lead in Game 4, I think that was significant. I think it gave them all the confidence they needed, regardless of location, of how they were going to handle that game. And they did. And the other thing I'd add is this. When Harden and some of those players begin to miss early, it happens with a lot of players. And I shouldn't pick on James. James has had a terrific series. Wasn't necessarily great last night. But sometimes when you miss your shots early, these guys can kind of think about it, and they can't get out of it. Luka just continues to fire up. He doesn't care. But some of these other guys, I think some others, it affects. And when you start missing early, now you kind of begin to say, the pressure builds a little bit, and you just wonder where their game is going to take them. And as it turned out for the Mavs, it played right into their hands, and they ran away.
Kevin Harlan joins us here, 105 through the Fan. Sometimes you get a different perspective being up close courtside. Can you tell watching this series that the Mavs are clearly the better team and it's just a matter of time? Or is it closer than that?
I think the Mavs, the way they finished, 16-2, and then they lost the 2 games at the end where they didn't play everybody. But when they had that run, I think they proved to themselves after the trade, and they finally started to kind of concentrate and focus on defense, that they could be as good as anyone, maybe not to the level of a champion Nugget team, but they're a unique team with how they're built. But if anyone was going to compete against them, I think the Mavs would have a very good shot. The West is so deep and young and has got a lot of good teams kind of congealing at the same time here. I'm speaking of Minnesota in particular, that road will be a little bit tougher. And I think that the next round, the Mavs, if they go on to win it, could see a very talented but young, with not a lot of playoff experience, Oklahoma City team, which we just saw sweep New Orleans, and they did it handily. And I thought New Orleans came in with some nice momentum, and after kind of a close Game 1, after that, it was the Thunder just showing what had made them so great all season long. So they're going against some quality teams. There's no cakewalk into the conference finals, but I think I felt like if Harden and George Paul and Paul George were not right, and Paul has kind of been up and down, and Harden has been pretty consistent, but they're not getting a ton from anybody else, that the Mavs would be in good position. And sure enough, they are. And I think now the confidence is at an all-time high, and Luka's only going to get better with that knee. And again, didn't show any effects we saw, with Court said last night. I think they're ready to roll. I really do. I wish Hardaway were ready. He got injured the other day in a 5-on-5 practice and kind of went backwards and is getting back from that ankle. If they had Hardaway, I'd feel a heck of a lot better, just because off the bench, as we know, he can really have an impact.
Kevin, when we look at you talk about Luka Doncic and how he didn't look limited by the injury or anything else. When you've sat in these production meetings with Jason Kidd or Luka Doncic and you hear them, did you get any sense throughout this series so far? Was there any sense of pressing to you from the Mavericks? Like they're aware of what the Clippers have been to them historically and how they're still looking to get over that hump? Because that felt like early on, at least, like there may have been a little bit of pressing from Luka, I know, in game one, maybe in game two as well, where it's just like he's aware of this hump he needs to get over with the Clippers.
Well, I think you're always aware of that as an athlete. He's had his best season. This is sixth season. He's had his best year. He's in the conversation clearly for the MVP. I don't know that he'll get by Gilgeous-Alexander or Jokic, but he's right in there in that conversation. And the difference in any other year would be, I think, it'd be Doncic's year. And who knows, it may be closer than we think. But I think he's got such confidence in all parts of his game. When maybe any of us would consider him pressing, it's really him just trying to, they're crowding him clearly. Every time he gets the ball, there's a crowd around him. They're trying to limit, the way he can maneuver. But when they get rolling and they move with speed and their pace is terrific, they're a top 10 pace team. And again, Kidd just said, the number one thing is we just got to play fast. We've got to play fast. And they did, and the Clippers couldn't handle it. I don't know how some of these other younger teams would if they would, continue on. That would be a pretty good chore. But every series is different, and every team's makeup is different, and the way you would attack them is always going to vary from team to team and series to series. And that's what'll be interesting here in the next series. If they do win it and go against the Thunder, they'll have a team that is different than the way the Clippers are put together. Clippers pace, I think, is 20th. It's in the lower third of the league, so they play a slower game, and that might be by virtue of Harden and the way he wants to go, although he'll run with anybody, but I think they kind of like to set things up a little bit more. So how the Mavs respond to that will be interesting, and there may be some of that in the back of your mind. We got to get by this team, which is a team we've had been familiar with in the postseason. But I don't think much bothers Doncic. I got to be honest. We don't meet with him, by the way, just to be clear. We don't. But Jason gives us some pretty good insight into the team. And I just don't sense that they blink very often, quite frankly. Going back to the trade, the way they finished, and the way that Irving and Doncic have played, and Kyrie is I think he's an amazing player, and more so now than ever before. I think his compass is in the right direction. I just think there's just like everything about him right now, on and off the floor, just seems very comfortable and a good fit, and that he was going to make it fit regardless, with this chance to play with Doncic. And I think he respects Kidd. He grew up in New Jersey. He idolized Kidd growing up. I mean, that was his guy. And the New Jersey Nets were good at that time, and he followed him, and he's a fan. So I think there's just a lot there that's at play that builds into the kind of team that they are.
You are the man. Thank you for waking up with us. Continue to be the legend you are. We can't wait to keep watching with the playoffs. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, guys. Always fun. Take care. Thank you.